I feel like the next time I watch this movie, I have to watch it with captions because there were times I definitely did not know what these guys were saying. The Lighthouse is directed by Robert Eggers and stars Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. The Lighthouse tells the story of two lighthouse keepers who are on duty at a lighthouse on an island for 4 weeks, and we slowly see them start to go crazy as they're isolated. First and foremost, this is a crazy movie, and I was intrigued, disturbed, lots of words, but like it was just a lot. It was such an experience, and so I think this is definitely a movie you want to experience in theaters. Also, try to stay away from trailers. Although this movie didn't really give away that much in the trailers, it really just scratched the surface. So I think you could still go into it not knowing a lot, but if you really want to go in without any knowledge whatsoever, I would say definitely don't watch trailers, but for sure go see this in theaters if you can. So what worked? There is a lot that worked for me in this movie. First and foremost, the visuals. This movie was very, very visually appealing, from the colors and the lighting to the effects. This movie has a very dramatic look because one, the lighting is only coming from like one side in a lot of the scenes, so you see one half of the actors' faces really dark, which gives us this really edgy look. And then it also is in black and white, but the black and white is not perfectly black and white, if that makes sense. Like there's a kind of bluish tint to it, so it has this nice cool look. And then on top of that, the aspect ratio is more square looking, so it's very old school looking, very gritty looking. And then on top of that, there's the sound. This movie, I think, has the most immersive sound, like the most dynamic sound and score of the year so far. The score is very haunting. It has you on the edge of your seat almost, right? And on top of that, the sound effects, especially when the lighthouse makes the whoa sound, like it just makes me like on edge, like what's about to happen? Something's not right here. And it just kept me feeling that way the whole time. And I feel like that's one of the strongest parts of this movie is the sound because of how much sound is going on. And then there's the effects. There's a lot of effects here. And again, I don't want to say too much about what actually happens, but there's a great use of both CGI and practical effects to really sell the visuals of this movie, which are crazy. There is some trippy stuff in this movie, and it leaves a lot to interpretation. It's not all cut and dry. Like, you see a lot of crazy stuff in this movie, and it's kind of up to you to figure out what's really going on, and I think that was really great. So if that's something you appreciate in movies, then you'll probably like this. Then we have the performances. Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson absolutely destroyed this movie. Some of the best performances I've seen of the year. They both completely transformed themselves into these characters. They're almost unrecognizable. If you had doubts about Robert Pattinson being Batman, go watch this movie because it will prove you wrong. This man is gonna be a great Bruce Wayne. So they both played very different people. Willem Dafoe's character is kind of the veteran lighthouse keeper. He kind of knows what's going on. He knows what he's supposed to do. He has his own way of doing things. He's very outgoing, but also slightly unhinged. And then there's Robert Pattinson's character, who is kind of the new guy, does everything by the book, doesn't want to cause any trouble, kind of wants to keep to himself. But you can also see there's something going on with him. So seeing these two bounce off each other and really see this conflict growing between them was really well done. And I feel like that in part is done so well because of the performances of these two actors really carrying this movie. I really would not be surprised if either of them, or even both of them, get Oscar nominations for this because this is definitely some crazy good acting. Oh, and going back to the way it's shot. So it's kind of a more squarish aspect ratio, which I think works. And at first it's kind of weird because you're used to seeing movies like widescreen, anamorphic on the big screen. But because of the way it's shot, black and white, and really dark scenes, it really makes you feel more claustrophobic, more closed in because they're in this small lighthouse a lot of time and they're trapped on this island. So physically they are in a very enclosed space, but then watching it, you're also kind of feeling that way because the dark scenes and the way it's framed is very tight, right? And then some of the scenes that are really dark, you don't even notice the aspect ratio because it kind of blends in with the screen, which I thought was really interesting. And last thing, another really good thing about this movie was the pacing. Most of it is pretty good, but I would say the part that really had me shook was the first hour and a half actually really didn't feel that long. It really just flew by, and then there was the rest of the movie, and I'm like, wait, how long have we been here? Because this movie actually is almost 3 hours, but it really doesn't feel it, especially if you're like really intrigued by what's going on and what's on the screen. And so I think that part was done really well. Now, the ending does go like really 0 to 100, but I really feel like the first hour and a half is very well paced. But again, this is all a preference thing. Like if you like movies that are really like artsy and abstract, then you will be enthralled the whole time. Now, if you're not that kind of person, that kind of moviegoer, then you may not like it as much. So it really depends. But I think this is definitely an experience for everybody, especially if you are a fan of film. The verdict. I think The Lighthouse is solid. This was one of the craziest movies of the year. I've said that like a lot, but I really mean it in this case. Like this movie was just bonkers and it had me intrigued the whole time. Amazing performances, beautiful visuals, colors, lighting, cinematography as a whole, really great. And it makes you really think. It makes you try and unpack, try and figure out what you're watching. And it's not all obvious at first. You really have to sit and think about it. You may even have to talk with other people about it. Definitely check this one out in theaters and actually consider bringing a friend with you so you have somebody else to bounce ideas off of and try and figure out what you both just watched. Have you seen The Lighthouse? What did you think? Let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Also, if you haven't seen, I posted a new short yesterday called Stalker, and I hope you really like it. It's very spooky for Halloween. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.